switch out to some, Cain is a guy that I think for the last 5 years he's only been in title fights. So he's really fought the best of the best, and he's been the champ for a bit. How important is this fight for you? Because I mean, the stage, UFC 200, the opponent, what he's done in the past. How big is this fight for you?
It's huge. You know, Cain ran the division for years. You know, he's arguably still the best heavyweight. You know, there's situations that came up in his last fight, you know, altitude and stuff like that, that he had to learn kind of the hard way.
Right.
But you know, I feel like you know, he's right there. He's still the toughest guy, so it means everything to me. To me, this is almost my title shot. You know, I fought Werdum a couple years back, and you know, guy's evolved his game to win fights, and now he's the champ. But I feel like this is gonna be a tougher fight for me.
So now, if you were to beat Cain, obviously we're getting ahead of ourselves, but if you were to beat Cain, you haven't win over him. You'd have won 2 in a row. You got to be in the conversation for a title shot. You have to be right there among everyone else, right? What you think?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe you know, he's the #1 contender. Not only is it the guys that I've already beaten, but it's who am I beating now? You know what I mean? And Cain being #1 contender, how do you not mention me in the title fights? And you know, like I was saying earlier, is that guys like Overeem are coming off of good wins, impressive wins. You know, he has a fight coming out with Andre. We'll see how that goes. But he has to be in the talk as well. And I don't think just a win, any win over Cain will cement me in that title shot. I have to go out there and I have to perform, make it a show, and then, you know, perform and come out on top. There's so many moving parts to it.
Sure. Fighting at UFC 200, what does that mean to you? Because the stage is obviously going to be huge. It's the opening of the new arena. The UFC is already doing this up big, and all this promotion you guys are doing already. How big is just that stage?
The UFC 200 is just it's a huge platform, huge stage to be on. There's going to be so many eyes on you. UFC 100 was huge. At that time, it broke all kinds of records. You know, this year's kind of been a different year because, you know, Conor and Nate broke all kinds of records and all this stuff, and you know, 200 is supposed to be monumental. And the one thing the UFC does well is put on shows, so they'll figure it out. You know, whoever they're gonna want to add to the mix, but it's going to be huge. And for me to be a part of it, come out and get a win like that on that stage against the #1 contender, I mean, there's nothing better.
Do you think that all the drama going on with Conor almost adds to the eyes on UFC 200 because everyone's talking about it, even if it's indirect? People are still talking about the card.
Yeah, you know, there's that. I don't know if it's a saying or what, but bad press is still press. You know what I mean? And so even though he's at odds with the UFC right now, it's creating quite a buzz for UFC 200 and who they're going to put in there at the headline event and where that card's going to go. So there's a lot of eyes on it already. He's just drumming up more business for us.
Right. I think you've been doing media with Cain for 2 days now, 2 days in a row?
Yeah.
What's that been like? Because you have to fight him in a few months. Is that awkward? What is that experience like?
I wouldn't say it's awkward. It's expected. You know, it's not that we dislike each other, but we're not friends. You know, we're cordial to each other and professional about it. You know, the way that we should be. I think I don't know him as a man outside the octagon. I only know him inside the octagon, and you have to respect him for what he's done. So I have a lot of respect for Cain, and hopefully he has the same for me. I don't know, but the way we've been acting toward each other shows that.
You've been sizing him up at all? Kind of like sizing him up, asking questions, finding out how he feels about certain things, that kind of thing.
No, we'll bust some people's balls a little bit, but it's like, you know, it's more like we'll indirectly do it to somebody else. You know what I mean? But we won't do it to each other. You know what I mean? I mean, at the end of the day, we're gonna July 9th. There's a date set. You know what I mean? And it's gonna happen. So we don't need to get under each other's skin.
He loves cars and stuff. I don't know if you're a car guy or whatever, but if you need to fill some time and talk to him, he's a big guy into cars and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not big into cars. Like, you mean like race cars and stuff?
I think he just like cars and motorcycles and stuff. Just not necessarily race cars.
Well, I have my Harley that I have now, and I think I have vehicles for a purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, could I afford to drive something actually I'm driving? Definitely. But I like my 2002 pickup and my 94 Bronco.
Jeez.
I love them. I don't get stuck when I'm in the woods. You know what I mean? So like I said, it's a function over form for me.
So no Bentleys, none of that, no sports cars?
No, I don't even know what I'll do with that thing. You know what I mean? It'd be driving it around trying to get lost in the woods or something. I don't know. Get stuck in the mud.
Did you get that Bronco in '94, or is that sort of a
Oh no.
Yeah, no, I didn't get it back then. I've had it for like 3 years now, but it's the OJ style, but it's a dark blue. It's not white.
How many miles are on it?
About 270,000.
Think of the press you'd get if you went hunting and you threw all your gear in the back of a Bentley.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Who's this guy rolled up?
Yeah, right. Have like a caravan.
and then tie the deer on top of it.
Oh my God, on top of a Bentley, that's terrible.
Travis, I'm curious about the fight against Werdum. Obviously, it was that fight was supposed to set up potentially a shot against Cain a couple years ago, and we went through all 5 rounds. It was, we know about injuries you sustained in the fight afterwards. But that fight seemed to be sort of a pivotal change for you after that fight. After that's when you started working with Edmond. Can you talk a little bit about sort of how that fight focused you moving forward?
Yeah, it's amazing what happens when you get your ass kicked. What it'll do for you, motivational wise. He beat me, and until then I'd never really been beaten by somebody. I lost to Bigfoot, and not making excuses. I lost the fight. I tore my hamstring in that fight, and I was like, I didn't know what the hell happened. So that was the first time that I went, the whole fight, and he just picked me apart. He was able to touch me more than I touched him, and I felt like I got beat that fight, so it motivated me to look for what I needed. And in that fight, watching it back, I just saw fundamental flaws in my game that I needed to fix. I needed coaching full time. So being here, living here, like in between fights when I was training at Jackson's, I really didn't have anywhere to train. I could go running, I could go strength conditioning, but I didn't have coaches hold mitts, teach me why I'm doing things or how to do things. Now it's, being here in LA, I live in San Diego, so I come up here almost every day of the week, and I've never trained so much in between fights and now. So I'm learning a lot before I get into camp instead of trying to learn during camp and get in shape.
And I think that UFC 181 was your first fight with Edmond, and you've been very, very complimentary of him as a coach and as an individual as well, as I recall. Has there been any sort of additional distraction training with him lately?
Additional distraction?
Due to his own sort of issues?
Not for me. I think everybody out here is trying to make a living, and we're in the time and age of the more clicks you get, the more money you get, and so you see a lot of times in the headlines, it's like it's not Edmond Tarverdyan this or Edmond Tarverdyan that. It's Ronda Rousey's head coach. You know what I mean? And so people are looking to drum up something based off of Ronda Rousey's name, and it is what it is. You gotta go with it. People are trying to make a living, and even though you don't agree with it, what are you supposed to do about it? You can't control it, so you can't let it affect you.
And then, comparing Werdum fights with years of Cain, just going 5 rounds going to Cain, 1.5. Do you feel like you have any advantages based on those performances?
Werdum's a way different fight than Cain is. I'm a different fighter than Cain is to Werdum. We possess different skill sets. So As far as me having an advantage based off of our fights with Werdum, I don't think we can make that correlation. You know, we're just two different style fighters. Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how I feel about that.
Cain is a guy that's had some injury issues in the past. Do you think fans kind of unfairly kind of demonize him in a sense? It's not his fault that that he's getting hurt. Obviously, he wants to fight. Do you think fans have been kind of too hard on him in a sense?
Well, I mean, we all know what I had to go through last year. So as far as being fair or unfair, I don't think there's such a thing. The people are gonna do what they're gonna do. They're gonna demonize you, whether it's happening or not. And a lot of times, what I've noticed is that, with Cain, man, whether he's hurt or not, he's still one of the most dangerous men in the world. He ran our division for years. And the guy, you see in his fights, he puts it all out there, and you have to respect him for that. So how do you knock him for doing what got him to that spot in the first place? That's his mentality. That's him as a fighter. That's him as a man. How do you demonize that? That's what got him there. That's what made everybody love him as the dominant champ that he is. And now because he's getting injured, people are hating him for it. It's like, what are you guys doing? That's what got him. That's what got you to love him in the first place. So, fair or unfair, it's happening. It's the sad part.
How hard was it for you to deal with, when you had to be put on the shelf for a while they were checking out the allegations and having to prove everything was okay to have you back in the organization? How tough was that for you to go through that and to try to stay positive and committed to your own, lifestyle as a fighter?
At the time it was, I had two sides to it. It was hard to listen to see what people were saying about me, but at the same time, I know what I did and what I didn't do, and I was able to sleep at night, no problem.
Yeah.
I wish people really understood everything that I had to go through last summer, in the sense of that the UFC investigation. The investigation alone turned my life upside down. They took 2-3 of my phones, downloaded all the data off my phones, got information from it. From my understanding, there wasn't a lot of cooperation on the other side. And I'm back in the UFC.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can only imagine, really, it wasn't a legal investigation. I couldn't be like, oh, I'll talk to my lawyer. It was like, so this is where we're at. They even said this is going to be tougher than going through the legal process because there's nothing to cover my butt. There's no laws, It's like, you want your job, you have to volunteer, because somebody made up lies about you. But, at the end of the day, I knew I was going to come out on top because I know the person that I am. I know, again, what happened and what didn't happen. But it was a tough time.
Well, what's tough too is dealing with the court of public opinion, and that people will make a decision based on it. And it's very easy for some people to say, well, he's a fighter. He does it in the ring. Obviously, he does it outside of his life. So how hard was it for you to, or what kind of feedback did you get from your fans on the plus side and on the minus side when that was happening?
From a fan's point of view, from a human's point of view, what I would say is, you can't believe everything that you read. You can't believe the rumors and stuff like that. Honestly, a gripe of mine was that trying to say it right. The gripe of mine was that, honestly, and all you guys are with the media, is that nobody questioned her. Everybody put their eyes on me. Everybody made stories about me. And when I was reinstated, that was the only headline. Travis Browne gets reinstated. And I'll be honest, you know, you guys as media kind of let me down. And I would say that in that sense, because we're all being professional, that's what let me down.
What do you think we should have done differently?
Ask questions. Why did I get reinstated? What really happened?
Would you have been willing to talk about it? I mean, that's the thing. Part of me hates that it's a storyline now for you. Do you know what I mean?
But why do I have to do all the talking?
True.
Why, you know, all these places, TMZ, all that stuff ran with stuff, and not a single person asked questions. I'm a 6'7", 250-pound man. I have 2 little boys at home, and if I did the things I was accused of, you want those 2 boys being raised by me? Why wouldn't you want them out of my home? Why would you want me to have my career if that's the kind of man that I am? So yeah.
It's obviously still.
Honestly, I feel a little betrayed. Those are your reasons for lying, but then you don't press charges. You don't try to do things the right way. If any of you guys were here beating your wife, you had 2 kids.
Did you see on social media?
I swear to God, I will fuck you up. And I would pray to God, I would take your kids and take them from you.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part of it is that, I have a child. I understand that you never want to put your child in danger. So I would say, I guess for me personally, sorry I didn't tell the story, the full story. And to be honest, I think we only ever just tried to report facts as we knew them, do you know?
Yeah, no, I understand, but, the rumors went further than the facts. The lies went further than the facts,
So is there a way, what do you think unfortunately it is incumbent on you because it was your story, but what can you do? How can you get past that? How can we make it so that Travis Browne's name doesn't always have that story coming in the Google search for stuff?
Well, this
was
the first time I've really talked to any media. I took myself out of it because my way of dealing with this was living my life and being happy. And the people that are around me understand what kind of man that I am. And that's what I did. I'm happier now than I've ever been in my life. And it's not because of the fighting. That's what all this pushed me to learn about myself.
Well, it's interesting, as I was joking with you, and we were talking about Ronda's famous quote now about being as down as she's ever been and looking up and seeing you. Somebody would love to tell a story that you both have sort of saved each other in a way. Is that
Definitely.
fair?
Very much so. And, she was there for me when I was going through my hard time as well. And it wasn't as public, but it didn't need to be, So I think that's definitely a fair assessment. We're there for each other when we needed it the most. When we felt like everybody was against us, everybody's trying to knock us down, we were there for each other.
Is there any way that this channels into you as a fighter too? I mean, obviously it's a very personal thing. Is there anything that you did that it sort of made you train harder, focus just because of that being a positive distraction?
What being a positive distraction?
I'm saying going to the gym being a great way to just escape all the other BS that's going on. Do you know what I mean? Do you feel like any way that it's made you a better fighter?
I actually didn't. I didn't go to the gym for a long time because I didn't want to bring any unwanted attention. Because I knew what I was going through. You know, fighters at the gym had fights, and you know, there's going to be media there, and I didn't want to bring negative attention to what was going on. I didn't want to be a negative distraction, so I actually didn't go to the gym for a long time. And it wasn't until maybe September-ish that I started going again. But yeah, man, I mean, it was just yeah, it was a tough time, but we're there. Like I was saying, we're there for each other, and we're better now than we've ever been. I'm better now than I've ever been. Happier, dedicated, focused, and living my life. And that's, to me, that's the only way to show the truth. Yeah, you know, media, people don't see what goes on behind closed doors. But I've been open until last summer, you know, when, again, I felt like, kind of like I was done wrong. You know, I wasn't given my shot, but I don't know. I just gotta go out there and live my life and be happy, and that's, being happy is the best way to deal with those things. Going out there and you know, somebody that wants to say something like that about you, and the people that want to, you know, comment on a picture of my son and say, oh, I hope, you know, you don't beat your son like you beat this person. It's like, man, let me tell you something, my kids are gonna see that. You know, again, these people don't understand, like, the reasons that we're given for saying something like that completely contradicts posting something like that in the first place. You don't want to affect my kids. My kids are going to be affected for the rest of their lives. And again, you know, where was everybody at when I was reinstated?
Do you think that the age we're in of social media, where lies can be shared like that, and can tweet whatever they want, did that contribute to stuff, do you think? Because people can, you know, just make up stuff and tweet it and get shared, and all of a sudden that almost becomes fact, even though it's complete BS.
Very much so. It's social media has been such a great tool for people, you know, to get recognized, to promote great things, you know, causes, you know, whether it's, you know, for whatever cause that may be, cancer or this or that, you know, great tool. At the same time, a great tool like that can be used in the wrong way to become, in a sense, like the devil. And in many ways, that's what people look for, you know. They're not, in my mind, and my thought process is, if I have enough time to go on somebody's social media page and say something negative, that means that, like, I could be doing something for myself to make myself happy. You know what I mean? It's like, I could be doing this, but I choose to do this. So where does that put you mentally? Where does that put you? You know, it's not, what you said about me isn't necessarily about me, it's about you. And, you know, shit, man, it's the attention that we get being in the public. Love and hate, and you know, it's like that saying where if you do a good job, say, you know, you're a worker or something like that, you do a good job, and that person might tell 1-2 people. You do a horrible job, they're going to tell 20. You know, it's just, that's the nature of the beast. That's why news these days reports nothing but bullshit and all the bad that's going on, and you know, this world's coming to an end, instead of, you know, that guy that helped that old lady across the street. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck, man. You know, it's like, that's what we're surrounded by. That's what people want to see. I don't want to see that in my life. I don't want to be a part of that. I'd rather get busy living my life to the fullest. I think there's a lot of room for younger athletes to learn from the guys that have been around a little bit. And, you know, it's definitely something that I would be a part of. You know, I would want to bring light to the situation in the most positive way that I could. You know, being whatever the case is. You know, in my case, it was accusations of domestic violence, and I would love to bring light to it, to really, you know, have people learn about it and how you can better this place. You know, you don't. It's scary. We're big heavyweights. We're big guys. You know, and we have a target on our back one way or another from all different angles. It's unfortunate, but it's a part of our life. If you want to do this, this is what comes with it. It's in the fine print. People don't realize, but it's there, and it's in the fine print.
The flip side of that, though, being the heavyweights, is you're also beloved. You know, we think about somebody like Demetrius Johnson, who is flawless.
Yeah.
And, you know, people sit there and talk about how he can't sell a pay-per-view and how the guy gets no respect, and everybody loves, I guess it's America, you know, we've been indoctrinated with the Ali and the Fraziers and, you know, the big guys in the old days. Do you feel that, though, that sense of love that especially heavyweights are given, and how you guys are treated differently than other fighters?
Yeah, I mean, one punch changes anything. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of how it goes with the heavyweights. With, you know, with the smaller guys, there's a technical aspect, but then at the same time, you know, you watch my fight with Andre,
right,
and you know, he's just beating the shit out of me, and I come back and I knock him down, almost knock him out with one punch, and you know, the story just went back and forth, and you get that a lot more with the heavyweights. I think you get a raw sense of the feeling of fighting, you know, when it comes to the heavyweights, because anything can really happen.
Well, we were talking about this before we started here, about how a few years back you made it a point to trim down, be more athletic, and so do you think, though, that is the way of the future, is to have a leaner, meaner heavyweight? I mean, not Andre is a little slimmer now, you know, it just does seem like the old days. You see the guys that are just kind of bigger not doing as well, except for Mark Hunt, because he is a legend.
Yeah, Mark Hunt's definitely a legend. There'll never be another.
He should not change. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do. The age of like the Titans, you know, like the Brock Lesnar's and the Shane Carwins, and the guys were cutting down from 280, 290 to make 266. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's hard to believe, you know, to think that we went through that time. But, you know, Cain came out and just kind of brought it back to, it's not about how big you are, you know, and that's kind of like the story about like jiu-jitsu. It's not the biggest guy that wins all the time, you know. It's we get to a point where you get too big and you start losing other aspects of the fighting game, cardio, and you know, your endurance. And you know, I'm just as strong now fighting at 235 than I was fighting at 255. If anything, I'm stronger. You know, I've more muscle, less fat. My cardio's better. You know, for the first time in my last fight, I remember what my coaches said in between rounds. You know what I mean? The other times I was like just trying to catch my breath, and you know, so yeah, it's definitely, we're getting to that. It's that time where, for me, I feel the most comfortable fighting at 235, 240.
Well, and, you know, I know Edmond has in the past trained some of the lighter weight boxers. Is there a way mentally that he sort of trains you like a little fighter? Do you know what I mean? Is there a difference in the way that he may coach you as a heavyweight versus how he would coach
Definitely.
the littler guys?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's different in a sense because I bring a different skill set. I bring a different athletic ability, and MMA is different than boxing. But and the other way, it's like those little guys, they're running up that mountain, and coach isn't, you know, sitting there being like, "Oh, it's okay, Travis, you're a big guy." He's like, "Hey, they're up the mountain. Why are you down here?" You know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, "Coach, but I'm beating all the heavyweights." He's like, "But the little guys are up there."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, shit, okay. If they can do it, I can do it. You know what I mean? That's my mindset, and that's what's got me this far. Is if anybody else can do it, then I can do it. And if the smaller weight classes can do it, then I can do it.
What do you think of Junior Dos Santos' fight the other day?
It was good. It was
Yeah.
It was I think it's a great matchup for him. He's got the speed and he's got the footwork, and sometimes it takes a loss to get you back on the right path, to question what you're doing. When you're winning, it's hard to question what you're doing. But when you lose, you sit there and you take it all in, and what the hell am I doing?
Yeah. People love to criticize the heavyweights, though, saying that you don't have as much depth in your division. It's kind of funny on both ends there with the flies and the heavies. Sometimes people say there isn't enough depth. So I'm curious what you think of that, because it's great in that, in a way, hey, I'm 1 or 2 fights away from a title shot potentially, but do you feel that there is enough talent in your division, or that you're just going to end up keep fighting the same 4 guys?
I don't think it's going to end up being that way. With the heavyweight division, we have at the top right now, we have Werdum, Stipe fighting for the title. There's Cain, Junior, Alistair, I think Andre's in there, Rothwell's in there, and I'm number 7. I mean, I'm number 7, and I'm talking about 1 fight away. I come out with a win on 200, and I'm fighting for a title. The other weight divisions, I mean, are they 10 guys deep? Really, realistically? I mean, because in my mind, the light heavyweight division is, John and DC are going to keep going back and forth with Alex in there and Anthony.
That's all you see from that.
But who else is in? I mean, I'm not. It's not my job to know everybody in the division, but in the light heavyweight division, to me, those are the guys that will be fighting for the title. We got the welterweights. We got Robbie, Woodley, McDonald, or Rory McDonald.
There's more
Carlos.
Youth. There's more youth in some of those divisions. I think that's what it is too. Is that somebody? We see Frank Mir fight. We see Rashad was fighting the other day. Some of the guys that have been around a long time, and maybe it's about to be the changing of the guard soon. But for now, it still seems like there's a lot of veterans in the higher weights.
Well, I think in the heavyweight division, you start getting in your peak around the 30s. Yeah. The lighter weights, they really start to depend. They depend on their speed, athletic ability to be able to get in and out. In the heavyweight division, I feel like you really start coming to your own in your 30s, mid-30s. And so that's when you really start hitting your prime. And that's just the heavyweight division. People want to criticize it for not being deep, but and that there's a lot of older fighters. But, where's the 20-year-old heavyweight that's knocking everybody out? It's because they don't exist,
Black Beast is coming up, though.
Yeah, he's getting there. He's getting there, but he's fun to watch. It's like he's getting there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe by the time he's 30, then he'll be up there. Up with the rest of us. But it's like, who knows? You know what I mean? For me, it's like it's more of an age thing. We're just we're fine. We're aged wine, fine aged wine. Just, the longer you have us out there, the more performances we put on.
At the same time, I was going to say, we're going to take a break. If you want to ask one more question, we're going to take a break so everybody gets a chance to order and eat, and then we can continue. Kane's here. We want to get him in as well.
Nobody puts baby in.
If you have one question, you can ask, but otherwise, everybody feel free to sit down, and we'll start to order, get water poured, and get going with lunch.
I was just going to say, at the same token, you kind of made the jump to the UFC within basically less than 2 years of fighting pro. So what was it about you that was able to make this jump fairly young, as opposed to a lot of guys that aren't doing so?
Yeah, so when I first got into the UFC, I think I was like 28, 27, about around there, turning 28. It still took me until about 2013 to really make my mark, and I was about 30 then, 31, and in a way, it's a blessing and a curse, but I pick up on things. I'm an athletic person. That's how I got, did as well as I did in basketball. That's why I'm doing so well in the UFC, is I have a work ethic and I have a talent, and I guess I'm one of the lucky ones. You know what I mean? But I definitely do feel like I put in my time. I don't sit here and you know, sipping mimosas on the beach. I'm in the gym getting my ass whooped, you know, and that's what I did for years. It's one of the things that I don't shy away from is an ass whooping, especially in the gym. Because if I'm getting my ass whooped, it means I'm learning. It means I have something to work towards in order to get better. And that's what I did wherever I went. Because I would look for the guy that would push me the hardest, that would be able to beat me. And then I would make it a point to, you know, try to get better than that person and develop my skill set and my, you know, push my work ethic to the limit.
All right, guys, we'll order. They'll come in. We'll start.